Hi, my name is Ian Craig, and this is my COETAIL Course 5 final project video. This project centers on a flight unit that I've taught off and on over the years. As an upfront reflection, I have to say right away that if I had presented this unit back then the way we have it structured now, we would have done some really amazing things. Students were given an initial survey to assess a slew of different topics. The biggest being, what did they want to learn in their trimester 3 elective course? We as teachers decided that the theme would be about flight, but the topics and how that unit was actually taught, we wanted to leave up to the students. I chatted with the middle school science teacher and looked to see what loosely aligned with the science standards for the grades 6 to 8 time span. Needless to say, it left a lot of wiggle room. With that in mind, we gave the students 3 choices for their in-depth study: planes, rocketry, or kites. This was accomplished by utilizing a Google form emailed to them by the instructors. The form questions centered on key vocabulary and concepts from each potential topic in an effort to assess their prior knowledge and give us a glimpse on how to structure the unit. A few screenshots of that survey should be floating across your screen right now. In addition to the topic-centered questions, I also asked questions relative to how the students wanted to learn. It's important for us to hear and give each student a voice in the learning process, whenever we can. I was curious to see whether they wanted to work individually or in groups, and if in groups, how many people in those groups? What medium of work did they like producing to demonstrate their knowledge? How do they like to be assessed? Is it essays, movies, posters, models, quizzes? What do they want? I was pleasantly surprised by the results of the survey. They were all over the board. This entirely backs up all the theories we've discussed over the past year and the research work on differentiation that has come out over the last decade. Even better was the list of potential sources for making their thoughts, ideas, and voices heard. Nearly every single option was ticked by at least one person. The students are showing us that they want to learn more about the cool technology that exists in our world and aren't interested in sticking to the tried and true methods of assessment and demonstration of knowledge. In the end, the survey let me know that we had a wide open slate to be filled with student choice and direction. I also believe that we have given each student the opportunity to shine and show their knowledge in the way that they are most comfortable. The survey results showed a dead split between rocketry and planes. I made the choice to go with planes based on the limited time frame that we have to accomplish this work. Due to a number of holidays in our school calendar, our once-a-week meeting time has been halved over this trimester. With just 8 meeting times for the whole unit, it had to be parsed out in a logical progression that afforded the students the opportunity for a bit of project-based learning, tied up neatly with increasing their portfolio of go-to technology skills. Had our time been longer and our student numbers greater, I would have allowed the students to divide out into groups and conquer their own learning in each of the 3 areas: planes, rockets, and kites. That would have made for a really cool symposium on flight at the end of the school year. Flight overall is a huge part of our lives these days. In a school such as this, where every student is an expatriate, flying is something that they have to do without question. My hope is that rather than being bored the next time they're sitting in an airport or on a plane staring at their handheld devices, they're putting the terminology and knowledge learned in this unit to work by explaining to someone what's happening out there in the tarmac or in the sky. Explaining to a friend or family member that turbulence is not going to bring the plane out of the sky, and having the scientific reasoning behind it is really cool for a middle school student. So on to the unit. The survey results showed that the students had an interest in learning blogging skills. They also had an interest in sharing their knowledge with others outside of our school. So we figured that a blog would be a good fit. The end goal is to have a blog that chronicles the learning process from start to unfinished. It is rife with student reflection on each week's topic. There is a standalone page of flight vocabulary, a page dedicated to the math behind scaling something from smaller to larger, and a page dedicated to creating homemade altimeters to use triangulation in finding the altitude of a given object. The big and awesome project at the end of all of this is that we should have 4 huge gliders with a 2-meter wingspan to go out and try and toss across our soccer field. We're going to start with them as tiny models, labeling all the parts of a plane, and then gradually scale them up to something a few feet in wingspan. Student excitement is extremely high right now. Each week the students have a task laid out for them. Based again on their survey information, some of the tasks are individual and some of them are in groups. The group sizes vary from week to week again based on the student's preference for group work. Information is disseminated to them via Google Docs, Google Calendar, the project blog, and mini lectures from the instructors. Many of our students indicated that they liked when the teacher gave them instruction in a lecture-style format. We decided to keep this to a 15-minute maximum for any given lesson, aside from any questions and avenues the students chose to take it beyond our prepared materials. At the end of each in-class lesson or activity, there's always a take-home piece. Some call it homework, I prefer not to. What I'm seeing through this project is that the students want to learn more. They want to spend time at home coming up with the reasoning behind the theories of flight and why airplanes have the mechanisms that they do. As a way to assess and keep abreast of where they are at and what they are thinking, each student is required to post an individual or group reflection on the blog. This varies from week to week. There are a few formal assessments in this aside from a couple of generic rubrics that give the students guidelines for creating their blog post, their infographic, their podcast, and their final video presentation. As you can see, we're all over the board in a short amount of time. Do I expect a level of mastery in any of this? No, absolutely not. Do I anticipate that students will have been exposed to a variety of learning methods, ways to demonstrate their knowledge and have their voices heard? Yes. Will some students take the path of least resistance and wait for each revelation to be handed to them? Yes. But I hope that in the end, this group of students feels armed and ready to tackle their other courses with a toolbox full of tools to help them get the job done. And yeah, it would be great if they could share with mom or dad what they can now identify at the airport. Perhaps one of them may even become a pilot or aeronautical engineer one day. At this point in the unit, we're not finished. We're only about 4 weeks through. I'd really hoped to have it all wrapped up by now, but due to some unforeseen holidays this winter, we had to push things back a bit, and we just weren't able to get the students together for this instructional time. But that's okay. We're totally flexible on things, and the students are having a good time, and I really think that's what matters most in the end. To summarize, what I hope we have in this unit is a unit that gives the students the opportunity for their voices to be heard, display their knowledge in whatever ways they feel most comfortable doing so, but also teaching them some new ways to do that. Underlying everything, hopefully they're learning some really cool skills and terminology about planes and what makes them fly and how they get off the ground. I hope that they are able to take this information and feel excited to share this with other people as they wander around an airport on their travels to and from school. I'll leave you the video of one of our students explaining to you the parts of her glider and how she's managed to get to the point that she's at in the development of that glider so far. I hope you've enjoyed this video and might consider incorporating a unit on flight into your instruction at some point in time. I love the concepts behind flight and what they have allowed us to do and accomplish as a world. If there had been more time in this unit, I would have surely created a few lessons around the big idea of what has flight done for us as a society and as a world. Please take a few minutes to review the UBD lesson plan attached to my blog post at coetail.com/iCraig and leave any comments you'd like at the bottom of the post. Thank you very much for your time.
This is my airplane. Before I knew about airplanes, I made them with shorter wings so it couldn't glide. So what I changed was I made bigger wings with it supporting so it doesn't flop down. And this is the nose, so it's balanced with the horizontal stabilizer and the rudder. And this is the fuselage. It has to be lighter than the wings so it can glide more. If not, it would just drop down.